What is good, folks? It has been some time since I have recorded a video, and I wanted to get back to taking a look at things I really enjoy, which, of course, as you know, if you've seen my channel, they are G1 Transformers and Godzilla. So, I wanted to start things off with a review of the Takara Tomy C310 God Ginrai gift set, which is a reissue of the original Super Jinrai with the God Bomber. And let us, whoops, that was a bit fast, but let's showcase God Bomber right there. We know them in the West as Power Master Optimus Prime and the Apex Armor. And one thing that I want to get out of the way right off the bat, see those squeaky wheels, is to attach the daisy chain. We're going to have to split this open. And this is a cool feature. Joints are very tight. And you see that little, might be hard to see, but there's a slot that's already molded, and you can attach the hitch into that slot. And I fired the missile right there if you saw it across the screen. And with that, we are able to drive him around. Okay, we can't really drive it around in this limited view, but as the wheels squeak, you can tell. Now, if you're into third-party Transformers, and if you had the G3 trailer for the Henkei or Classics Optimus Prime, and you bought the City Commander armor, or excuse me, the Powered Commander armor, it homages this setup right here because the Powered Commander armor would attach to the back. There is a special attachment scheme with a G3 trailer armor, and then your Classics Optimus Prime would be here. That whole setup homages this arrangement with God Bomber in the back, the God Ginrai trailer, or the Super Jinrai trailer here, and the Jinrai slash Optimus Prime Transtector for Jinrai over here. The Transtectors, if you haven't seen Master Force or if you're unfamiliar, the concept was that the Power Master would function as the sentient autonomous being. The actual body, if you will, of the Power Master was called the Transtector in the Master Force series. And there was a way to explain why Jinrai's Transtector looks like Optimus Prime. I believe it was quickly explained that it meant to be a new body for Optimus, but because of his death in Transformers the movie, the body passed on to the human being known as Jinrai. So right off the bat, let's showcase Jinrai himself, which is the Power Master. He's on here a little snugly. Now, I don't readily have on hand the original High Q. I think his name is High Q. Who's High Test? Is there a High Test? I don't have the original High Q on hand because I don't know where he is, but as you can see here, this is all chrome. The articulation is fairly limited. Actually, it's only limited to be able to turn sideways to form the Power Master. One thing I liked about the G1 Power Masters and the Headmasters was this molded detail on the side of the boot of the figure. or the boot of the humanoid. So we'll put that off to the side. And right off the bat, I want to compare this to G1 Optimus Prime. The G1 Optimus Prime, or sorry, they're both G1. The 1984 Optimus Prime cab is on the right. The God Ginrai cab is on the left, and as you can see, the God Ginrai is slightly bigger and has a more bluish tint on the windows, if you can see here, than the 1984 Optimus Prime, which just has clear windows. The reissue, I should clarify, has a bluish tint. The original does not have any windows whatsoever. So one of the things that I was trying to showcase earlier was the stickers on the original Power Master Optimus Prime. Oh, there's my Haikyuu right there. Versus the blue tinted windows of the reissue God Ginrai set. Just to speak to the little changes that they made to make this a little bit more appealing to collectors. Now, having said that, I want to kind of go over a little bit what I think is important when we're looking at these vintage G1 toys as collectors and adults versus when we saw them as kids. As adults, we're a little bit more discerning and a little more critical. And the thing that we look for when we're adults, they're how articulated is the figure, how durable is it, how is the plastic quality, how have they integrated the various accessories into the various modes, is the engineering satisfying yet complex, etc. We have all these criteria that we look for in the toys. But as kids, for me, the chief criteria was how playable is it, how fun is the actual toy. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we think of G1 versus the modern toys, because a lot of people just dismiss G1 as a brick, and obviously the articulation is the lowest form in the history of the Transformers toys because they're the first. But if you look past the articulation limitations, they made up for it with the presentation and ingenuity of the toys. And this God Ginrai gift set, this Power Master Optimus Prime with Apex Armor gift set, for me epitomizes the allure of the Transformers toy line, because you have so many modes in this toy that it makes playing really fun, something that the 1984 Optimus Prime didn't have. So starting off with the cab, the transformation obviously is fairly simple. And, you know, starting off again with Haikyuu, this is figure number 1 in the set. So everything builds off of this guy. I'm going to keep interchanging between the American name and the Japanese name, even though this is a Japanese toy. So this is actually Jinrai, and as I mentioned before, he controls the entire unit. He is the sentient being in this whole apparatus of what we call transtectors, or what Master Force calls transtectors. So everything starts with him, which is kind of cool. So we're going to transform him into his Godmaster mode and put it into the grill of the cab to prepare for transformation. And I wanted to make sure that the Power Master is on securely. So the transformation is exactly the same, of course, as the Power Master Optimus Prime. I like to pull this out a little bit because I did it before on my vintage one, and I accidentally blew out his right ankle. So I'm unable to transform him back and forth now. But completing this transformation, I'm going to pop open his head, bring the arms down, and we're going to do a couple of quick comparisons right off the bat right here, since we have the Jinrai Transtector / Power Master Optimus Prime. We're going to line him up with the American original Power Master Optimus Prime. So we have Jinrai on the left, We have the American original Optimus Prime on the right, and bear with me while I just quickly transform the 1984 Optimus. I'm not going to put in his fists because that takes time. Actually, I lied because I already did it. And I'm just going to tuck them in right here. Bear with me. And there we have it. One thing that I really wanted to point out that I think is pretty key is the change in the coloring of the eyes on the reissue to this very, very nice cartoon blue. The original has red in the eyes, and obviously the 1984 original Optimus has yellow. What I want to highlight is that the playability of the Power Master Optimus Prime toy, while limited in its articulation, even with comparison to the 1984, the 1984 has shoulder articulation. Sorry, no, it doesn't. It has a butterfly joint in the shoulder. It has elbow articulation. My Vintage Prime is a display piece, so the arms are quite stiff. The butterfly joint exists on the original. The elbows move. Where this figure suffers is the leg articulation, because due to the hitch mechanism for the trailer, the entire leg moves in one unit, which I read somewhere has something to do with child safety concerns, where if both legs were not able to move independently, like the original 1984 toy, it was less of a choking hazard for children, which I'm not exactly sure if that's true, but I remember reading that somewhere. So we're going to put the original Power Master Optimus Prime off to the side and bring the reissue back. And we're going to highlight the fact that this is actually the first figure, not the reissue, but this mold, is the first figure of Optimus Prime as portrayed in the cartoon, because the 1984 Optimus Prime is obviously based off of the Diaclone mold that the cartoon later based itself off of. So the toy, the 1984 toy, is a basis for the cartoon, but the Power Master Optimus Prime mold takes the cartoon as the basis for this toy. So it is, in a way, the first pure Optimus Prime toy, which I think is really, really cool and really interesting. So the Jinrai figure, or the Power Master Optimus Prime figure, has limited articulation. The head can't turn. The legs suffer from that uniform mechanism which controls the hitch locking scheme. But the presentation overall is really nice. It's a bit more sturdy than the original 1984 figure. So if you're a kid and you're playing, and it's much easier to transform as well. You don't have to you don't have to fumble around for the fist attachments. You know, you can just pop this out, swing this out, and you've got Optimus or Jinrai right here. And of course, the joints on this are a little bit loose. But yeah, it's a really great figure. And this is only 1/3 of the overall package that you receive. So we're going to set off Optimus to the side. We're going to set Jinrai off to the side. And we're going to showcase the trailer. The trailer is awesome in its own right. It is not the brick that the G1 trailer is. Sorry, I keep calling it G1. They're both G1. And I caught myself just now. See, this is how ingrained it is. I caught myself just now referring to the G1 trailer, or the 1984 trailer, as a brick. It's not. It's not a review about G1 Optimus Prime, 1984 Optimus Prime. I'm just going to keep doing that throughout this whole review inadvertently, so excuse me. But the trailer for this God Ginrai gift set is something else, man. They figured out how to make it into a base, and they also figured out how to make it combine with this cab mode, because if you were a kid, at some point in time, you always thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if Optimus could power up into his trailer and form this big-ass robot that could pound out Devastator? But, they never did that, and that's what the Dinobots are for, and Omega Supreme. So when they came out with this, I thought it was really cool, and it was the best idea to make use of the trailer. But I'm also a fan of city bots, and I love base modes. So again, for me, this easily took the cake because the base mode of this trailer is awesome. And it's also easy, which is why I like G1 again. So I'm probably going to mishandle some of the steps because I'm just going off of memory. But we're going to split the trailer, and the joints on this are super, super tight. So we're going to just kind of force it. So I just went ahead and split them off camera because it was getting to be a real pain in the ass. But continuing the base mode, so once you pry apart the legs, you flip this down and get that focus in there. And you get like a really nice molded detail here in the front. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and transfer the rest of the base mode. So you guys know the drill. We're going to fold this out. I guess that doesn't really stay put. We're going to fold that out. And I want to make sure that this gets captured. We put that up. And some of the instructions differ to the exact position. Well, that kind of annoys me. But some of the instructions differ as to the exact positioning of the trailer attachment mechanism. So the American instructions, it comes out to form like sort of a gun. In the Japanese instructions, it says to leave it folded here. But we're going to go ahead and put in the black cannons and the gray guns. And where is high Q? There's a groove in the gun where his, where his crotch is supposed to plug into, for lack of a better term. And there we go. I wish there was a way to tab this in, but there's not. So there we go. So now we have the base in focus. And I really like the molded detail of this. The stickers really help bring out this base mode to make it a little bit more dynamic. So I'm going to bring him forward. And you see there's a lot of nice detailing with the stickers. You can see some of the sculpted paneling here, which makes it look like kind of like a workshop floor if you want. Same thing with the panel on the other side, and it's a nice ramp going down. This is the main ramp where you can put, I think in the promotional commercials, they might have had one of the headmasters on here. Now these windows here, this is really nice molded detail with the circuitry, the Autobot logo. Just as an aside, when I was a kid and after I saw Transformers in the movie with my cousin, there's that scene where Blur goes from window to window in Autobot City and he's shooting the gun. He's shooting his gun. Something in my brain told me that these windows corresponded to the windows in Autobot City where Blur was shooting his gun out of. But obviously that's not true. But anyway, I told you I love base modes. So we're going to bring this back, and we're going to swing this gun out. And the reason why the American instructions have it as coming out of there is because you're supposed to station Optimus right here as a sort of command platform when he's issuing orders. Whoops. So he doesn't look all that menacing because all of his guns are attached to the base mode, but you get what I'm saying. So now to transform to God Ginrai. Sorry, we haven't even gotten that far yet. To transform to Super Jinrai. I'm going to take this away. I'm going to fold these back. Take the guns out first. And we're going to fold the arms like this, so there's clearance to fold these back up. I'm going to fold this here. And I'm going to do this off camera because it's a struggle to get these legs to cooperate. So I'll return. Actually, before I did that, I just wanted to highlight one thing that I forgot about. So, and obviously, my childhood Power Master Optimus Prime is the one on the left because you can tell the difference between the yellow gray plastic and the gray plastic from the reissue. So anyway, so one of the things I wanted to point out right away, an advantage that the Japanese reissue has is the retractable hands. They make a nice how should I call it, a nice transition between Optimus's arms and kind of structures for the base mode, whereas with the Hasbro version, it is not quite as elegantly executed. You could see clearly the moldings of the hands are still visible. So that is one nice touch from the Japanese version that has an advantage over its American counterpart. And I'm back. So it was a real pain to get these legs transformed back. The problem with these reissues is that because you're not actually playing with them as a kid, you don't give the ratchets and the springs that repetitive motion of transforming the joints and whatnot, so they get stiff as hell, and it becomes a risk of breaking it. So better to do everything off camera than to do it on camera, fumble, and look like the fool. So anyway, so I just left this here because I wanted to simply flip it back up and to showcase Super Jinrai. So you see the trailer when we went from trailer to base mode, we did this panel work. I really like these panels because they're multifunctional. This hides, or this forms a trailer. This is the ramp, and it all folds neatly down into this. And well, I mean, it's gray, so you know it is part of the trailer. But if the coloring of this was blue to match that, you wouldn't know that it actually folds around and has panels for, or turns into ramps and stuff for the base mode. But anyway, so we're going to stand up Super Jinrai, and then we get the Jinrai Transtector. We're going to take Haikyuu back from his spread eagle position, and sorry, this is Jinrai. I told you I'm going to keep alternating between the names. So we're going to take him back, and we're going to put the Transtector to the back, and we're going to simply plug it in. And now we're going to do the transformation process. Really simple. One thing I like about G1 over Masterpiece and the third-party offerings, you don't have to do a lot of work in the transformations. And yeah, transformations are cool and whatnot, but sometimes you just gotta, you just want to get done in a few steps. So here we have the cab and taking the Super Jinrai trailer, and in one of the greatest combination schemes of all time, in my opinion, for the Transformers, you can now start to see the beginnings of the Prime Super Robot. When I got this as a kid, well, not this, but my original one, the one that's yellowed. When I got it as a kid, I distinctly remember the lead-up process to forming the Optimus Super Robot, and it was just amazing. It was the coolest thing because for once, you know, for once, Optimus could power up and not be smaller than any of his foes that he would face. And all it took was a couple of steps. You would just stand his trailer up, fold some panels down, and then here we go. So then you go up, put the cab in, nice and secure. It's die cast, so it's a nice hefty feel. And distinct to the Takara version, the flip out fists. And now we're supposed to armor him up. So these are supposed to function as his smokestacks, or function in place of his smokestacks, if you will. You can configure them in any which way you want. The instructions for, I think the American one, have the guns facing like this, the silver guns facing like this. The Japanese one has them facing outwards, so it's even more of a menace. Yes, I know, he's headless. So I just wanted to get the head sculpt, and there we go. Snap it into place. And then we have Super Jinrai, and he looks pretty awesome in my opinion. You know what? Let me just take this and talk about it for a little bit. When I opened this as a kid and I saw the prime head of the sort of combined trailer mode for the first time, and how it was distinctly different, it gave you the feeling that this was a powered up Optimus Prime. It was a Power Master Optimus Prime. Sorry, I'm having focus issues. The detailing here in the side, they kind of connotes like, I don't know, like, I guess missiles in a way, or added communications hardware, something. But I like this touch of these molded details here of extra circuitry, or maybe the weaponry or what have you. It gives it a very distinct feeling from the conventional Optimus Prime head. It tells you that this is Optimus, new and improved and designed to take on foes that were beyond his original form. And I love this little touch. I think the head, looking at it now as an adult, is a little bit disproportionate to the Super Jinrai body, but little did I know as a kid that the head was supposed to form something even more impressive than this robot right here. It's G1, so the articulation is limited. The arms move up and down. The legs just do the split in terms of base mode. I just went through going through the challenge of splitting it, so I'm not going to do that again. But weaknesses in the presentation, again, if these panels were painted blue on the inside, because you don't really need them to be gray, but it's molded plastic, so of course everything's going to be gray. But if Takara had gone the extra mile and added a blue paint app onto here, it would have been really nice. it would have added to the cost as well, but this is the quote-unquote box set reissue for collectors, so that would have been nice. Maybe it would have been nice to have this colored red, but then in the base mode, I don't know if it would have looked weird. But certainly this area here being white to add some nice continuity with his waist would have been nice. But anyway, these are minor nitpicks. The presentation of the Super Jinrai robot is really awesome. And when you were a kid, you just formed this after playing, and then you knew that he was ready to take on anybody that the Decepticons threw at him. And you know, I keep going on about that, but like again, like I was saying earlier in my review, I think you have to have like a kid's mentality when you look at these G1 toys, because otherwise you're too critical as an adult due to its many shortcomings, because this technology is over 30 years old. And you know, it's not going to have the articulation, but the presentation and the ingenuity is really cool. So I don't have him on me, but he's in storage. But in the Master Force cartoon, sort of the punching bag of Super Jinrai was Piranha-Con, or King Poseidon as he's known, so in Japan. So that informs you that this super robot, this Optimus super robot or Super Jinrai, is combiner height and is supposed to be able to hold his own against combiners, which I think is a really cool concept, that you power up Optimus Prime or power up, you know, Jinrai and Optimus Prime's promised transtector, if you want to go into the background story for Master Force. That there was something in mind where they wanted Optimus to become stronger, to take on more powerful foes. And we're going to see how that's actually needed. So we're going to go from Super Jinrai to God Ginrai. So we're going to put him off to the side. And we're going to introduce back the God Bomber vehicle. So God Bomber is a parts former. There is not much to say about him. Since we have Super Jinrai available, we're just going to go ahead and quickly showcase the God Bomber robot mode. So as you can see, it's quite literally the parts former. You can split this out. Now you flip out the feet. I just wanted to showcase this before we went into God Ginrai. So you're going to flip the feet out. And the way that I remembered how to do this is you want the blue part to be out on the outside. And right away you can see that that's a risk if a kid were actually playing with this. This whole connection relies on those two little pegs. We're going to go here to the back and plug this in. So I forgot that there was the added step of attaching the wings. Actually, I have to apologize for my fumbling. I haven't done this in years, so I'm just kind of going off of memory. But we're going to attach this back. There's God Bomber's head. We're going to put the wing on this side. We're going to plug them in here. And we're going to take this and plug it in here. So you can see how kind of finicky the whole arrangement is. It's having difficulty staying in place, and then you could put the gun emplacement up here. And that was out of camera. And we're gonna put the little rocket in there. Drawbacks. This is a parts former and it is not designed to be played with aggressively. It is merely designed to provide some versatility in what you're paying for, as the God Bomber attachment. It is fairly large. It's as large as Super Jinrai, slightly smaller, which gives suggestion from a toy standpoint that he's also supposed to be, that God Bomber is also supposed to be the size of the combiners. But limited articulation, actually almost no articulation. The articulation in the arms is only because they attach at those pegs. There is this armature here in the back, but you know, it doesn't really securely attach in my copy, so it's flimsy, and this mode is generally not worth it because God Bomber is only good, in my opinion, for assembling God Ginrai. So we're going to take those bits off, and it's probably best practice to take the legs out before these tiny pegs can get broken inside the slot. So we're going to flip his feet back in, and now we're in preparation for the God Ginrai mode. Again, the way I like to remember it is you want the blue on the outside. So these are going to be the feet, or the platform shoes if you want. Let me get my pointing tool out of the way. And now, one of the coolest bits is that we're going to start to armor up Optimus Prime. So we're going to simply slide this into this area here. So this hook piece simply slots here into the back. I know sometimes that people have trouble attaching it. So it's going to slot here into the back, and this raised bit is going to insert into there. So we're just going to simply go like this and hook it in, and it's on firmly. So we're going to do the same on the other side. Hook it in, and there it's on firmly. We're starting to see the beginnings of Super Jinrai. Sorry, God Ginrai. So the back, we're going to take the front chest piece of God Bomber, there's his folded head, and we're simply just going to put it in there to the side, and then we're going to take the wings and affix them here. So if you've never seen Master Force and you have this set and you wonder why the wings, so the wings, you can see here kind of this, there we go. So this molded detail of, on the very end, they're thrusters. The wings are designed to help God Ginrai fly into space. And so, taken together, you have a thruster on each side of the wing. And let me refocus. So you have a thruster on each side of the wing. And with the thruster in the feet, he is supposed to be able to achieve enough velocity to reach space flight. So I just want to make sure that everything is, there we go. So the cab was a little bit unstrained. And now we're going to take these guns off. Might as well retract these fists. And then we're going to attach the God Bomber arms to get the proportions a little bit better. And Optimus, or Super Jinrai, now has some blue gauntlets to help with his armored appearance. So I'm going to pan back a little, or move my chair back a little. And it's still not far enough. He's a tall guy. So I'm going to move him back. Most obvious missing piece is the God Bomber chrome chest armor, which is simply going to attach like so. We're going to fold the crotch guard up. And last, we're going to attach, whoa, you see the missile fire there. I can't remember what his gun is called in Master Force, but anyway, it's the gun that has his choke and power. And there is the base robot mode. Really tall. Let's go ahead and armor him up. So we're supposed to attach the gray guns to the side of the ankles. So we'll affix that. And then his black guns, he'll hold in his new gauntlets. And there we have Super Jinrai, I keep making that error. There we have God Ginrai, all powered up, and he looks absolutely fantastic. You can see the platform boots, the wings, the gauntlets, the breast armor, the breastplate, the gun whose name I can't recall, which is supposed to be his choke and power, and even there's armor in the back, which is the front of God Bomber. So yeah, this is God Ginrai in all his glory. Let's quickly take a look at how tall he is. And he measures just under 1 foot, or 30 centimeters tall. And you can see it's a little bit loose on that leg, but again, limited articulation, limited mostly to what Super Jinrai can accomplish, which is not much. Mostly the articulation is in the arms. The head cannot look, but now remember when I was saying that the head looked a little bit big for Super Jinrai, little did kids know that the head was designed so that it would be proportional to this total assembled robot, this super robot, which was a nice scheme. So here we have the Takara Tomy C310 Autobot Supreme Commander God Ginrai.